Welcome to Middle Fingers Up, the show where we hold our heads high and our middle fingers higher. I'm your host, Kieran McKay. Today's guest needs no introduction, as she was a listener favorite back in episode 6, the day I befriended my anxiety. And then she came back again in episode 48, You Can Show Love in So Many Different Ways. Welcome back to Meena Natt. Today, Meena is here to talk about Meena's doula services as a compassionate and dedicated doula who is very passionate about providing evidence-based support to individuals on their journey to parenthood. Meena is bringing her experience to foster a commitment to personalized care. I am looking forward to learning about how Meena is helping clients feel safe, supported, and empowered as they prepare for childbirth, as well as what comes after childbirth. Hi, buddy.
Hello.
Thank you for coming back.
Thank you for having me.
You're number 3 now, so I think I owe you like so much more, maybe a sweater or 20 stickers or something, because you keep coming back and that means a lot.
I'll take the stickers.
They're not scratch and sniff, but maybe I can make scratch and sniff ones. I'll mail them to you.
Okay.
Because I wanted to say, you and I have been talking about having you on to talk about the service that you're providing, and as a doula practitioner, as a doula, I don't know. You'll tell me what the correct way to say is. And I think a part of why we're here today is I'm here to learn quite a bit about what it is that you provide and how you can be helpful with those that are navigating the parenting, pre and post birth journey. Because I'm going to be honest, when I was pregnant, not that long ago, my oldest is about to be 13. A lot of what I was influenced and taught was like birth was just another task. Even my doctor said, I gave birth in the morning and I was making food for my husband by the evening. So it's like many women can do it. This happens. This is what you do when you get over it and you move on. And so I just thought, yeah, that's what happens. It's a medical procedure. You have a baby. Cool. See you later. And then, honestly, it isn't since I entered my 40s, we're in our 40s now, and starting to prepare for menopause and some of the preliminary signs that, you experience, my perspective has shifted. I'm coming to realize during this time of my life, childbirth is more than just a medical procedure. I was not preparing to be emotional right now, so it's really interesting this is coming out. It's just one of those few major hormonal body and mind, and I'm really simplifying in how I say that, changes a female, a woman may go through. And it's such a pivotal moment that connects us to the changes we're going to experience later in life. And being in our 40s today, 50s, 60s women, you start to be forgotten. Healthcare starts to fade. Having babies, you get a little bit of attention and care. But that's also first world people, right? Not everybody around the world has the kind of privilege that you and I sitting here today can say that you have the service you can provide, or I can say as a woman that gave birth, I received excellent care. I also recognize I'm privileged with that. But as I'm in this stage of my 40s, going through some major, starting to go through these hormones, I'm recognizing that it's so important for us as women to advocate for ourselves and being informed about our bodies and our minds, especially during significant life changes like childbirth. And so I just want to say, I feel that our bodies are sacred vessels. I don't know why I'm getting emotional. I don't know what that's happening. So,
no, it makes sense. Yeah.
These vessels may also carry generations of trauma And sometimes for many of us not knowing about this trauma and where our story started, where we came from, where our ancestors came from, it can impact. I just need a minute. Like, I don't know why I'm getting so emotional.
I want to say thank you for being emotional. This is, if you're gonna ask me what does a doula do, you just kind of explained it all right now with the introduction of what you're sharing with your listeners. Because so you gave birth 13 years ago. It doesn't matter if you gave birth 13 years ago, 20 years ago, or 30 years ago, okay? The way that you gave birth and the experience that you had, you are going to carry with you forever. So, people always ask, oh, what do you do? What is a doula? And online, it just says the same thing. We offer like informational, physical, emotional support, but there is so much more to it. The whole point of being a doula is that you talk to a woman 13 years after she gives birth, and I want her to feel like, I had a great experience. I felt empowered. I had that support around me. I made my own decisions. I knew what was happening, right? And this experience is something you will never forget. So that's why I'm passionate about this. I care about how women are treated during birth, their experience, because that imprint is going to be not only left on your physical mind and body and all of that, but also gets passed on, right?
Yeah. Thank you for that. I appreciate that. I think sometimes we go through life just, check boxing. I did this, I had kids, I got a job, I got married, whatever it is that, that our tasks are. And then when you can sit still for a minute, and part of that was preparing for our conversation today, when you give yourself the space, like you said, for me, looking back, it is exactly what you said. And I never really thought of it that way. This is an experience that I carry, and it's going to influence how I'm going to be a mother moving forward. And I honestly think we don't get to do that. Part of it is because maybe some women are having traumatic births. There's all sorts of things. Postpartum, you're not getting the support, or everything just went too easy, like it did for me. I was a legend on the maternity ward. I'll get into my MFU in a minute, but I was like, it was so easy, it's so efficient. And so that also impacts, I think, this checklist of, well, now I gave birth and I can do that too. Because as women, we can do it all. Doesn't Beyonce say, have a baby, then get back to business, right? Isn't that what she says? Strong enough to have a child. That's what we do. Because we can't lose our line or spot in the line as women, right? In the world, we work hard to get a job, and then we go off on maternity leave, and we come back, and everyone thinks what they think of you, and you've lost your mind, and you're not the same, and all these things, and you're just fighting to get back. So sitting here the last few days thinking about this, I think that's probably why I'm holding a lot of this emotion, is it's such an important journey should a woman get to be blessed to experience it. And we rush through it. So many of us, we want to forget it because society tells us, get over it. It's just everyone can do it. And you believe it. And you don't realize the impact that can have then, parenting and the attachment, that the bonds that, we're missing or not getting to form and all that. So I appreciate you sitting through there with those emotions, because they just started to come out like, yeah, shit, even though this happened so long ago, you don't talk about it in the same way, right? Like if I don't know if like how many women will tell their horror story of birth. It's always horror stories like, oh yeah, I was 70 hours in labor, and that's how you bond. Like it's like first time you meet a bunch of women, they'll just start talking about, yeah, this is what it was like for me, because we don't know what else we need to talk about or how to connect. So anyways, it was I appreciate your patience there, as I needed a moment. Yeah. No problem. New moms get so busy, right? So they don't have much time to think about the experience, and that's why
a release is great,
Yeah.
It just means something was inside that just needed a release.
Yeah.
And when you, like you said, when you sit still and you actually look back, because you have a newborn, right?
Yeah.
And you're taking care of a baby, and they become toddlers, and then they become teenagers. And then when do you have time to sit down and talk about your birth story until someone scares the shit out of you and says, this was my experience, or, yeah.
Right. Yeah. No, for sure. So I think more now than even before recording, I'm realizing the importance of this conversation. And I want to seriously thank you again for encouraging us having this conversation today, because I think I thought it was going to go a different way, and we haven't even started and it's already going another way. So should we jump into our MFUs and then we can get into what you do and how you do it? And
Sure.
yeah. Okay. So did you bring something with you today?
I did.
Okay. Yeah. I can't wait.
My MFU for today's conversation is I put my middle fingers up to something called imposter syndrome. Heard of it?
Sadly, yes, I have heard of it. Sounds like you have too.
No, because I was thinking about this, and I'm like, okay, so what is really on my mind, right? What is bothering me lately or in the present moment? And this is it. Like, I started my business 6 years ago. It was 2018. And I started hearing the word, you listen to like mentors and like their podcasts and whatnot, and the word kept coming up. And I didn't understand it at first, but then when they explained their experience of how they're feeling, I was like, oh, that's exactly how I'm feeling. There's a name for it. But I feel like I'm just putting my middle fingers up to it, because I feel like 6 years later, I'm still kind of feeling that. So it's like when you are setting out to achieve a goal, or you've started a new career, like started a new business or whatnot, and you just have this underlying feeling all the time that you are just not good enough. It doesn't matter how much education you do, how many courses you do, how much experience you have by now. You just have this feeling like, oh, I'm just a fraud, or you know what I mean? And it just kind of prevents you from starting certain projects or achieving certain goals. Just kind of paralyzes you. Like you can't make the next move and next action to make your goal come true. So that's what I wanted to put my middle fingers up to today.
Yeah. What are you finding is helping you work through that?
Just telling people how I'm honestly feeling. And then words are important. Just not giving up, like just keep going. Like if something scares you, starting your first class or teaching your first yoga class or whatnot, right?
Yeah.
Just doing it, just starting it, putting it on the books, putting yourself out there, and not having the feeling take over.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm really glad that you shared this. This has come up here on the podcast before, and every day I hear this in so many of our conversations outside of here. Kids, adults, all of us, whether we're on a team and our team lost yesterday, we feel, why are we even doing this? Or it's an individual thing. And I think your point about getting it out and talking about it is probably even why the term exists, because you do get to hear about it now. We now know about this, and I'm appreciative of those that are paving the way to have that kind of a conversation and say, I really feel like I'm not good at this, or I'm struggling about this. Or when you're teaching a class and being brave and asking for feedback afterwards, it's like, you're like, oh, but then like when you read it, you really value when people are honest and say in a kind way that you could have been better at this, or maybe they have even a better idea. It has nothing to do with us, but the fact that someone could be better at something than us, and that's okay too. I think you're right. Like talking about it really helps. And I know I'm learning from others, just again, that apologizing to yourself and having self-compassion are two other things that can be helpful in, okay, I don't have to know everything. Like who decided that I have to be the best at this topic?
Right.
Right? Like,
Right.
but somebody decided that I have the capacity to teach this class or, too. And so you're one of the ones that I learn a lot about. And anytime you and I talk, you bring so much humility to conversation. It's like you'll be the expert on the topic, but then we walk away with you letting us feel like we were the experts because you're just always so curious and want to know and learn and like, oh, okay, that's a different way of looking at that. And I think that's something to be aware of too for yourself is you have so much compassion for others as well.
That's the thing. That's a good reminder. Just repping and giving that compassion to yourself, because usually when people feel like this, there's a lot of evidence around them that they're doing great.
Yeah.
They're on the right track. There's evidence out there letting them know that you should keep pursuing this, but there's just always that underlying feeling that I don't know enough. I'm not good enough to be doing this or teaching people this. So that's just something that, I've been working on the last few weeks, dealing with that. And like you said, I'm going to be more compassionate with myself.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought it up. I think that's the key is, talking about it and letting someone validate, us when we do bring it up, but also feeling like I can say I'm good. Because A, you're a woman, and then B, you're a woman of color. And I think sometimes those two things can add a bit of a different layer too when a lot of our experiences are these microaggressions and things about how we're not good at something or we're okay enough at it, but we got to do this to be more Western, but then we've lost our whole culture if we do that. And it's confusing growing up in this East and West world. And I think the imposter syndrome, a lot of times when I've been talking to some relatives and stuff, comes from we just sort of grew up in this place of we were okay. So then it kind of adds to that. We can be hard on ourselves as well in a way of like, why should I deserve this award? Or, why do I get this? Maybe someone else am I taking it from someone else? Should someone else, is someone better? Should they be here?
Yeah, that's a big one. That last one.
Someone better.
Should they be here? Yeah.
It's like, they are here. Well, I appreciate that. I appreciate you bringing that up. And I think if others are having similar experiences of imposter syndrome, I'd love to hear, like, what are you doing to manage it? Or maybe you've heard some great advice from someone that's helped you get through that. I think that'd be great. And I'll pass it on to Meena as well, because it's a good conversation to keep going. Okay, well, I have an MFU today too. Let's see if I can get through this without getting emotional again. But it's okay if I do, right? Okay, so I just want to share a personal experience from my own childbirth journey. Okay, my middle fingers are going up to the issue of racial microaggressions in healthcare settings. So when I was having my first Xander almost 13 years ago, like I mentioned earlier, I had this like very quick delivery. It was very fast. I got there and pretty much had Xander, pushed him out, very efficient. It was like I was the talk of the ward, how quick it was and all this. So I got a lot of fist bumps for something that sucks for everyone else, because everyone's birth experience shouldn't be the same experience. So even though if I was fast, it doesn't make someone that was longer, you know what I mean? Like it almost makes it feel like everyone else's birthing experience sucks. I was getting all these fist bumps. And then the doctor and nurses, after I had Xander, they praised me. And so the one doctor and the nurses were standing around and they're like, oh, you did so well during this delivery. And I thought, oh, this is like a moment of celebration. I killed it. Imposter syndrome here, right? I'm the best at giving birth. But then their comments kind of like took a weird turn, because they revealed that upon seeing me, so when I showed up on the maternity ward, I don't know if you know the gesture where you put your finger to your nose and you're like, not it, which means like, I don't want to be the one to go and deal with this. So they literally admitted to me that they did the classic nose to the finger gesture, implying not it. And then they assumed I would be like all the other brown women who have shown up in the delivery room, because all the other brown women are dramatic and really loud and scream. And many of them have useless husbands. They don't do anything. So they're kind of attention seeking. But not me. I was different. So they're like, but not you. You were different. So I defied the stereotype. And this in the moment was like, oh, yeah, great. I'm different. Years later now, I'm learning a lot of these interactions I had over the years with people. And I thought I was walking away with a compliment. And I realized my whole community took a hit to make me look better, because I'm different. And to me, I think the microaggressions in the health system are something that happen a lot. And I think for marginalized people, this is an ongoing experience, and many don't know what to do, or turned away because they, for whatever reason, don't need the care, don't want the care, whatever it may be. And I just think that we have to make sure we're paying attention to this. So whether we're individuals or patients receiving care, or we're seeing this happen, like, there are many ways to praise someone. There are many ways to acknowledge something, but racially stereotyping people is never the way to do it. And I really hope that we can improve and get better at that, because that was something that I even at the time didn't realize was what was happening until later on, when I'm like, yeah, this is like embarrassing. Like, I was different because what? I just think we've been taking quite a few trips to the past in this whole episode, but I definitely think this is something for all of us to pay better attention to, around how do we have these kind of conversations, and how can we stop these microaggressions that are happening day in, day out.
Thanks for sharing that. One thing that I can share, I think it's a good time to share possibly why they might have thought, oh, you're different, or you're birthing like a white woman. Right? That's what it
essentially
sounds
is what was said.
maybe
You're right.
At, right? Yeah. So just because it's a good segue into something that I was going to explain today, I don't know if you've heard of something called the Friedman's curve.
No.
Friedman's curve, it's a graph that was created in the 1950s. It was created by a doctor, a male doctor, by the way, named Dr. Friedman.
Oh, excellent.
So in the 1950s, he created a graph, okay? And the graph was used to determine how long a woman should be in each stage of labor once she hits active. So when you're in early labor, it doesn't matter how long it takes. But when you get to the active part, you're 5 centimeters or more, they really care about how long you're taking in each stage. Okay, so he created this graph. Now, the problem with the graph he created is that he did his research on 500 patients that were Caucasian. The age range was about 13 to 42 years old. 70% of those women were about 20 to 30 years old. And they had different levels of pain medications and what. That's what the research is based on. That's where this graph was created. Oh, and at one hospital, by the way, in New York. This is the graph that we're still using in the hospital, keeping in mind that it has changed about 3 or 4 times because somebody realized that, hey, why are our C-sections rates going higher and higher? We got to look at this. We're doing something here where women are ending up in major surgeries to deliver babies. Mm-hmm. And they took a look at this graph, and then they kind of changed it and said, hey, let's try it now this way to reduce the cesarean rate. The last change, I think it was 2010, but it is what the hospital is still using today. So any woman of color that goes in there, the nurses and the staff are comparing you to this graph, right? That's saying that every single woman, doesn't matter about her history, genetics, color, race, we're going to birth the same way. Mm-hmm. We're going to take the same amount of time to birth our baby. If we happen to go outside of these graphs that they have, we're considered not normal. Mm. So because you did have your first baby faster, then that's not the norm, right? Yeah. It's not the norm. So I think that's where it might be coming from. and everybody else is dramatic because they're taking a lot longer. No, it's sad.
I think that's really well said. And I think, can we do a real-time graph that's got like a huge middle finger up that says all possibilities happen in this realm? And I know you're going to talk more about that because I think that's a big thing, and part of why women who have babies share these almost like war stories, because there's just so many different possibilities and ways from the beginning till the end of your birth to occur, and we're expected to have it in a certain way. And even doctors and nurses, that blows my mind, that maybe don't even realize they walk in with that kind of bias too, that, oh yeah, this graph, this is how this birthing process should be going. And it's weird because it's so out of all of our control. I didn't decide walking in there how that's going to go. I had hopes, right, that it goes smooth, but to pin us in a certain way, or, you know, and it's one thing when they realize that, but half of the medical people that might be listening would think they had no clue that that's what the case was, right? Like, the intention isn't always, and I think that's the thing with these microaggressions that occur, the intention isn't to harm someone, but that's what keeps happening when these studies and these graphs. And that's my issue with a lot of stats out there, is a lot of people rely on those stats, and they're put in one box essentially.
Yes, I have to make it very clear. Nobody is trying to harm. But if you look at the hospitals have policies, it's a business essentially at the end of the day. And they allowed women to give them the time they need to birth. It's impossible. You have to have people in and out, in and out, in and out. There's a lot of things you can do if you are pregnant or planning on having a baby one day. There's lots you can do that you can minimize, having yourself put in that box. Because for us to say that every single woman is going to birth the same way is so ridiculous, because you have a baby in there. If you learn the journey that baby has to do, the communication it does with the mom, they're a partnership. And you can't put a time limit on that. And I'm going to give you a really ridiculous example. It is so ridiculous, but it's the only way for me to explain it to people who either are men or just haven't given birth before. It's like saying, like, we all poop, right? Agree? Now, if you put two people in the bathroom and say, you've got 6 minutes to take a poop. If you do not finish your business in 6 minutes, there's a problem. There's an issue here with your bowels. Now, isn't that ridiculous?
I know. I'm just like, oh my gosh. How many people would be like, who needs 6 minutes? And how many people would be like, 6 minutes is all I have?
Yeah.
It's just so many.
No.
Yeah.
No, it sounds so ridiculous, but this is what we're doing to people. And then at the end of the day, that person who gave birth is going home feeling like, I'm a failure, my body sucks, my baby was quote unquote stubborn and didn't want to come out this way. How many times have babies been called stubborn? When babies are not stubborn, they're probably the smartest creatures.
Yeah,
okay,
right.
They are so smart. What they're doing inside to be able to exit your body, it's incredible. They have a certain mission.
Yeah.
They're not stubborn. What happens is humans around them, we create this environment that makes it impossible for this baby to make the exit and to make its journey. We are the problem. Every person that walks in and interrupts you while you're having a contraction, every single person who speaks loudly or whispers or turns the lights on or is just not giving you a good feeling, we are getting in the way. But women are always made to feel that diagnosis that everybody gets in their chart, failure to progress. Why did you have a C-section? Oh, because I failed to progress. No, we failed to be patient, as my teacher would say, right? We failed to sit there, put our hands under our ass, and just watch this beautiful thing unfold. We failed to do that. But in the chart, it's written failure to progress. And that is why we ended up in a C-section.
Wow. I think language is so symbolic, as you're saying. And yeah, that's how we leave with medical terms, thinking exactly, I failed.
How would that make you feel? Yeah, how
Oh,
would that make you feel?
oh, for sure. You already feel like a failure because you have no clue what you're doing, and your one job and only job is to get this baby out safely. And apparently, the only safe way is vaginal birth. And all the other ways, if you go that route. I remember being in our maternity, like our
prenatal classes. Yeah.
And I remember one of the couples arrived a little late to one of the sessions, and the mom, she was emotional, silently suffering, it seemed like, quietly crying the whole class. And a couple of us just were like, oh my goodness, like what's happening? Like we really felt for her. So we asked privately, like, are you okay? And she was so emotional because they just come back from their prenatal appointments with the doctor, and they found out the baby was breached. And now that means the course of action was about to change and how they had to deliver. And she had a plan and a hope in what she was wanting to do. And it sounded like she couldn't do that now. And it just, when you talk the way you talk right now, I can't help but think about her and how many women that are carrying a child are indirectly often made to feel like they're doing something terrible and wrong. And like you said, failure. Now my baby's breached and I fucked something up and we can't have the birth that we're expected to have because now there's all these complications and all these sorts of things. So what would you say to that?
Sadly, we don't have enough care providers that are confident enough to support someone delivering a baby vaginally that is breached, right? Now, we have one doctor here in Vancouver. So if you live outside of Vancouver, if you're in Surrey, you would have to go to Vancouver. If you're out of BC, you're pretty much out of luck because there are not that many care providers, OBs, that have the training or have the faith or the belief that a baby can be born vaginally if it is a breech. Mind you, you have to be a candidate for a breech delivery. What women are told if the baby is breech is it is a C-section. There are no other options.
Mm-hmm.
But when it is possible, and I've seen it with my own eyes, with the right support, with that one doctor saying, you can do this. Your baby can do this. If you want to try for a vaginal birth, let's do it. Mm-hmm. I've got your back. Versus someone saying, I'm so sorry, this is the only option. It's a C-section.
Mm-hmm.
Babies cannot be born in that way. You are not a candidate for it.
Mm-hmm.
There's a big difference in the support that you're getting.
100%.
When the truth is that that care provider does not have the skills and does not feel comfortable delivering a breech baby.
So that's what it is?
It is for, of course, yeah. We are not given an option because it is, we are told the safest way is via C-section.
Yeah, but when you're told that, personally, I feel you're told that in a way that it's you.
Oh, yes.
Like you're the problem. I didn't, it's not, I feel uncomfortable delivering this way, essentially, right? Like is what we're saying here, where women are made to feel like this is a you thing, not a us thing. I didn't know that. That's interesting.
If baby didn't turn head down, let's say after 32 weeks, I trust the baby. I trust that the baby is like always keeping itself safe inside, right? If head up, bum down is what it needed, that's what it needed, right? Mm-hmm. I have seen what the power of support can do. I have seen what women can do. I have seen a baby being delivered, being born, bum first, and then legs, and then arms, and then the head last, right? But this woman got her vaginal breech birth because the support that she had around her. It is not that something's wrong with you, something's wrong with your baby. Okay? And keep in mind, there are many medical reasons that a C-section would be safer.
Yeah.
I'm not talking about high-risk pregnancies here. I'm not talking about medical reasons that indicate a C-section. I'm talking about perfectly healthy women and babies that made it full term, mm-hmm. had absolutely no health concerns, mm-hmm. and are told now you have no other option.
Okay, can we pause for a second and go back a bit? Can you, in your own storytelling, you are sharing so much about what your role is. Do we want to go back for a second and just clarify a little bit more about what do you offer?
Okay, yeah, let's go backwards.
Yeah, let's go back a little bit. Yeah.
I can, yeah. Once I start, it's really hard for me
No, I know. I'm great. And I think this is, we learn through storytelling, and I know you're going to tell more, but I thought, let's just clarify a little,
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, so I am a birth and postpartum doula. I have been for 6 years now. I was a licensed practical nurse before that, which I also loved very much, but I just found my passion. I found my certain specialty, and I have not looked back since then. The word doula, if I can explain what it means. The word actually means a woman who serves or is in service. It's a funny word. It's a cute word. That's what the word actually means if you break it down. And when I learned that, I was like, oh, I'm a woman of service. Like this, this should have been my middle name. Like this is so cool. And I started looking into what doulas do. Now, doulas it's a very traditional role. Okay. So if you think about back in India, let's just say, for example, it's in many countries, but like in India, back in the day, like the villages, right? Like women came to support women. Okay. Now it's great because partners, husbands, boyfriends, they're involved now. It's great to have them involved. But back in the day, it was like, something that women helped women do. And there is a reason for that. It's not all just about kicking the men out or whatever. There's an actual reason why. And it is because research has proven that having this person there with you that has committed to seeing you in prenatal visits, has committed to get to know you, your values, what you're like wanting, it has proven to show that women birth better. They have better birthing experiences. Their experience in the postpartum time is way better because their birth experience was better, right? So it's a traditional role that we're trying to do in the modern world, imagine, where no one knows what you do. And I think I can speak for all doulas when I say that, why do we do this job? Why are we on call every day of our life? Like, why do we miss personal family celebrations, Christmas? Why would we want to do that? Like, why would we want to go to sleep at 9 or 10 p.m. and then get woken up at 3 a.m. and you have to quickly be in your car and head to the hospital? It's because our passion is to make sure that women have better experiences because we know how much it affects them in the postpartum period and forever. My sister gave birth 27 years ago. You talk to her and she'll have tears in her eyes. Almost 30 years ago. No matter what people say, it will affect you, how you connect with your baby. It will affect the way you parent. And it will affect how you show up as a partner, a wife, or a daughter, or anything. All that pressure on us to just be so perfect in everything role we play.
Can I just say, like, you are making such an important point that I just have to highlight?
Yes.
Is this birthing process is, like you said, more than meets the eye, more than what the credit we give, because it's the beginning of this forever going, growing, learning, developing, all of that. And you really essentially are defining it, the attachment theory that a lot of therapists use when they are seeing their clients. And attachment theory is all about the connections that a caregiver and an infant form post-birth in particular. And those connections are going to impact both their lives, specifically that infant that's going to grow to be the human. And so when we flash forward to today and in our 40s, and some of us are having relational issues, parenting triumphs or barriers or struggles, personal stuff, you're saying all of that is linked to where we started and where we came from. And
100%.
So I think that's really, really, and I kind of touched on the beginning too about that's part of also when we look at the beginning of our own story, our ancestry and the trauma that the generations are passing on. That's also going to be a significant part of how we raise our kids if we aren't aware of where we're coming from and, aren't aware of our history. Some of us aren't as blessed enough to know about our history in the way that we wish we could. And all of that, like you said, shape who we are. So why are we not giving childbirth the fist bumps, the like raising it above? Like, why are we not doing that? Why are we saying, it's just something that happens?
That is my whole point. This is why I'm so passionate about it. You know, if you get me started talking on this, I will talk for hours and hours. This is why. It's not only about the woman's experience. You have to break down a family unit, starting with the woman who's pregnant. Yes, you do. Then you have to look at the baby's experience. So I have three passions here. It starts with the person who's pregnant, and then it goes to the experience of the baby. So everything that you just highlighted there, that child, when it grows up to have certain attachments to other adults, it comes back to how they were born, the experience they had in their mother's womb. What was the mother going through? What did the mother's mother go through? And in a perfect world, yeah, maybe we can heal all our trauma and then get pregnant, right? But that's not reality in the modern world. And maybe some people do take that time, but mostly you want to build a family, you just start. So woman's experience, the baby's experience, how is it born? How did it come into this world? Were the lights on? Were the lights dark? Were people screaming? Were there quiet voices? All that stuff matters. Who touched them first? Even if the doctor helped a little bit, did the baby come up to the mom's chest? Is that mom, that skin, is that what the baby smelled? Believe it or not, it is what affects them when they get older. And then you look at the full family unit, if there is a partner involved, because sometimes there isn't. A lot of women now, single, and they're choosing to be mothers. But if there's a partner, a boyfriend, husband, or whatnot, then you look at the family unit. Woman's experience and the baby's experience affects the whole family unit. You look at, if you kind of think beyond that, what goes beyond a family unit is everybody else around them, the community around them. So do you see how we're so passionate about what we do? Because that prenatal experience to birth to the fourth trimester, it can affect these people's lives forever. And in the end, make a difference in your community and in the world.
Definitely. Yeah. I think folks like you, I think the education that comes behind this, I think the sharing the stories and talking, I think all these things can be so helpful in helping so many of us identify when we're going to be in that place, should we have a baby or be in the environment where a baby is being born in, because many people can be in that environment. I think there's a lot of responsibility in, okay, this is a bigger deal than we're putting out. And I understand the healthcare system and we got to flush people in and out and all that stuff, but I don't even want to talk about that right now because that always wins. I want to talk about what you're saying, which is, okay, how can we just like pause and recognize this is something that is going to impact, it's like the imprint of the future. Now, can stories change? Can people evolve and grow? Of course, but there is a significant impact, as you're saying, from the minute we come out, and it's going to carry forward. And why are we not making the ones that are giving birth, why are we not making their experience healthy and safe and whatever it is that's needed to create a space to give birth? So do you want to add anything else about the services?
Statistically, if we look at what is our support, is it having an impact on the person and the family? There has been lots of research done. When you have this, the key word is continuous, okay? When you have a continuous support in the prenatal, labor, and postpartum journey, it can decrease your chances of an unnecessary C-section by 39%. There's an increase of 8% in spontaneous vaginal births. That is what most people's goals are, right? To have a vaginal birth. And labors are shown to be 41 minutes shorter and a 31% lower chance of the birthing person feeling dissatisfied with their birth experience. This is taken from a website called Cochrane. It is like probably the highest quality evidence when it comes to anything healthcare related. So if anybody's a stats person, wants to read the research on this, go to cochranelibrary.com. not only about birth, anything to do with healthcare. So our support is when someone reaches out to us, we meet each other, and if we are a good fit for each other, our support starts right there and then.
Mm-hmm.
You have this person to turn to when you have questions and you need information that is evidence-based instead of like Googling everything, which freaks you out even more. The doula service is different. I can just talk about mine. I see people every month. It's not just 2-3 visits. It's like, I want to see you monthly if that's what you want. You develop a relationship with the person. You get comfortable in their home, because if it's a home birth, you are there for a long time. You're going into their cupboards and whatnot. If it's a hospital birth, you're still in their environment. You're still keeping them home for as long as possible. So, you know, it ends up being, you just end up feeling like you're at home and they just love you. I love my clients. Very special bond. That creates a chemical change in that person's body. If we talk about hormones, it's all about hormones. We can either stress a person out and have our adrenaline high, or we can have our feel-good hormones raised. And that's what gets labor going and started, and also going at a good pace. And you are on call. I'm on call for people from 37 weeks to when they have their baby. So that's all the way to 42 weeks. So there's a 5-week window. You are on call. You have to drop everything if they call you. In between, people email me, text me, they're going through something, I can talk to them. Once their labor has started, the important part is like when the warm-up is happening and you're close and you have all these questions, you're scared, you're nervous, things are coming out of your body. You can't just call your care provider and ask like, is this my mucus plug that just came out? Like, you can, but their job is easier. It's easier for you to just text your doula instead of like calling your midwife.
Called HealthLink.
Okay.
And they were like, oh yeah, you got hours to go. Like, don't worry. And luckily I just had a weird feeling, and I said to my mom and Carrie, I'm like, I think we gotta go. And they're like,
yeah,
we're gonna get set back home. And I'm like, we might, but I don't know, man. I have a feeling. And good thing I went, because we had the baby immediately when we got there.
Yeah,
right. Total instincts. But you can also see when your loved ones and people around you are trying to support you, they can also say, well, maybe not. And then you again are not. It's hard to, like imposter syndrome, as we started with. It's hard, especially if you've never done this before. You don't know what to expect. And then when you have done this before, it's never the same anyway, right? So you're like, I don't know what's going on here.
Yeah, and your family can, this is an important point here, your family, your mom, your sister, they can play a role of the doula. That person has to make you feel good, though. Mm-hmm. The difference here is this is a professional that could give you some information of where you are in labor, because we are trained to not only notice the things that you're doing, but listening to you. Those sounds that you're making tell us a lot about where you're in the birth process. Calling HealthLink, when you have someone to call, the whole point is to have that person feeling confident, feeling good when the warm-up is happening. Hey, yeah, this is normal. That's, I get pictures all the time. This came out of me, and this is normal. Keep going, keep going. Once they're in labor, they'll invite me when they're ready. Usually about 24 hours of going through early labor, because you don't want to interrupt that time that the partner they have together. Once I'm invited, I kind of have a feeling, though, because usually the client who's having the baby will text me, and then the communication kind of like withers off, and then the partner's texting me now, and then it's the partner calling in the middle of the night. I knew something has shifted, that I'm probably going to have to go soon. And then I am there supporting them both. If one person needs to hip squeeze and keeps the person physically comfortable, the partner is like feeding and giving a sip of water between every contraction, or they're holding their hand, or they're slow dancing with them, or they're in the shower together. Having that extra person there who can kind of let you know where you're at. Hey, I think you can stay home longer. Not to actually override the instincts of the person giving birth. If you are adamant and saying, no, we need to go like right now. Mm-hmm. You always have to listen to that. You have to follow. But if someone's like at home and I know they can stay home longer, there's ways to tell where, no, we got to go. Or she's just saying it because she's got to let it out. and we can stay home a lot longer.
Mm.
And we're trained to know the difference. Someone can be like, oh, I just want to go now. I want to go to the hospital. And then, like, okay, try this. If this doesn't work, we'll go. You try what you suggested, and they're there for 6 hours. And it's like,
Yeah.
they're home for 6 hours more.
Yeah.
So that's a very important part of the service, is that continuous support during labor. We go to the hospital or stay home with you if you're having a home birth, and we are there until that baby is born. And about 2 hours postpartum, making sure that the baby, we see a first feed. Mm. And in between, our job at the hospital is to continue to provide that emotional, physical support, right? Emotional support meaning that the fact that you're in the same room with this person is going to make their hormones do their thing, feel good. They have their people with them. If they have questions, you're there to remind them the answers. We are not there to speak for people, to care providers. We don't make decisions for people. We are this quiet presence that creates this environment like, hey, let's turn the lights off. We don't need these lights flashing on you. Mm-hmm. Or they'll be like, oh, what does this mean? They're offering to break my water right now. Like, I forgot the benefits of this. Why do they want to do this right now? Mm-hmm. And if they ask you, you can be telling them, like, this is why they're offering it. This is the benefit. This is the risk to it. That right there, where they could have the information and then makes them feel power to make the decision.
Yeah.
Is what they're going to feel good about when they're sitting at home in the postpartum period with the baby.
So are you neutral most of the time then? Or do you sometimes have your educated kind of opinion as well? If you see something maybe that's going on that you think, maybe we can hold off a little longer, or we could do this different.
I'm neutral, but I can honestly say there's been about 3 or 4 times where I did have to step in, where I felt like it was being, this is no disrespect to medical providers. Please do understand how hard their job is. Nurses are overworked. Mm-hmm. Nurses are wonderful. They know how to save lives, okay? Like doctors as well. I'm just talking about some things that you see that you can't unsee. So to answer your question, I'm neutral, but there's been 3 or 4 times, definitely, if I feel like I didn't step in, it could have turned into something worse.
Right.
So like, let's say, for example, a lot of people don't know you don't have to have student doctors around you. Sorry, like you don't have to be that person to practice on. Right?
You know what? I wish I had said that, because I feel bad, because I know, like, student doctors got to do their thing too. So I was like, sure. And when they had done the internal exam to see how dilated I was, they said I was 1 centimeter, but I was like feeling quite a bit of pain and pressure at that point. And so my mom got my nurse and said, something's up, like, please take a look. And the nurse was like, oh shit, you're like 9 centimeters. So the student doctor thought I was 1 centimeter, but yet I was actually 9 centimeters. So it was like, I was like, oh man, like, so it's just funny that like you say, you don't have to say yes, but
you don't have to. And one tip is to not only decrease the amount of vaginal exams you're having, but also have the same person do it, because they're estimated by checking with their fingers. Now, me and you have very different size hands.
Yeah, you're right. We do have different size hands.
So different care providers have different size hands, right? If one person checks at 2 and another person checks at 2:15, you can have very different numbers, right?
Right.
The things were being offered to my client that I just knew did not need to happen. She needed more time. She needed privacy. And this baby, she's almost there. And no, but sometimes just trusting the client, how you were saying, I feel kind of pressure down there. Yeah. Like, that feels way more than 1 centimeter. And I don't know why we don't believe the person.
No.
Every woman should be screaming. So if you're in active labor or you're about to push your baby and you arrive at the hospital, if you're talking too much, they assume you're too early. You don't know what you're talking about. Go back home and come back. And a lot of people have given birth in the parking lot and in their car at White Spot because they were told to go home. I had a particular client. I love this client. She just had her second baby and had the honor of being at her second as well. Well, her first, it was happening faster than a typical first labor, right? I get to her house and I can hear the sounds. I go, oh, she's gonna push soon. We need to go now. It was a hospital birth.
Mm-hmm.
Beautiful lady gets dressed. She wore a hijab. She was covered. Looked so amazing. In the car, she's like, I really gotta push. And I really helped her use a breath to kind of like slow things down. We don't want to have the baby in the car. Get to the hospital, and because the front desk staff was asking her questions and she was able to answer them, they had no idea how far along she was. And that's when I had to intervene and say, I think she's going to push soon.
Like, let's speed this question Q&A up here. Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And what she had for breakfast this morning is probably not important.
At this point, yeah.
But I was ignored. And I wasn't even like acknowledged. And that's okay. Like I expect that not from everybody. A few people here and there, not 90% are just wonderful. And I'm like, oh my gosh, she doesn't believe me. She doesn't believe the patient because she's answering all the questions. But I'm like, she's going to push right here. Midwife meets her and asks her to lay down. And I told the midwife, I go, I don't think she needs to lay down, but they got her to lay down. And guess what? The baby's head was right there. So then it turned into a freak out moment.
So going back to what you were saying in the beginning with the kind of environment the mother and the baby need to give birth is already out the window.
Well, because now it's a mad rush, right?
Yeah.
They all freaked out.
Yeah.
When if you just trusted the person who was giving birth, she's telling you she needs a room right now, but it ended up being like hauling her on the stretcher and going into a room. The answer to your question is that I do not intervene unless I really, really feel like my client and the partner are struggling and they're like put into a corner. It doesn't happen often because my clients are speaking for themselves. They're very educated. They are very feeling empowered.
So what's the difference between a doula and a midwife as well as a OB then, your doctor?
The way I explain this to people is...
Could you have all three in the room with you?
Yes.
Oh,
yeah.
Okay.
So you pick one care provider. So it's either an OB or a midwife.
Okay.
So you have one or the other, unless you're high risk and you have both. A doula is someone who does non-clinical tasks, okay? So let's say you have an option between an OB and a midwife, you pick a midwife. Or you pick an OB. You can still have a doula on your team. The point here is to build a team. A team that you're comfortable with and a team that can support you in what you want. So midwife is your main care provider that does all the clinical tasks, like they'll do the diagnosis, they'll prescribe medications, they'll do the cervical checks, check the heart rate. We don't do clinical tasks. So think of it this way. Picture yourself as a professional boxer.
Oh,
right?
Excellent.
You have that coach in your face.
Yeah.
You can do this. You just do right hook and, but you have the doctor in the stands that if you really needed a medical professional, they're going to step in, right?
Right.
We're like that coach that's not in your face like that, but we're that coach that is giving you information, telling you can do it, putting that cold cloth on your head, giving you that sip of water, massaging your back, telling you you're okay, telling you this is a normal stage of labor.
Right.
That this coming out of your body or this sound is all normal. You're doing amazing. But yet when there's something needed like a clinical task, like let's check the baby's heart rate, your medical provider does that.
Right. Do you feel that the connection between midwives and doulas, like how would you describe that?
Amazing.
Yeah? Like there's appreciation for both? Because it sounds like you could be such a impact and support to an OB or a midwife. The things that some of them probably signed up for what they're doing, the reason why a delivery doctor wanted to be a delivery doctor, there's always a great story attached to that, as well as a midwife, but sometimes they can't give that kind of care that you can because you don't have to focus on the clinical stuff. So I see there's like room for a really good partnership between a doula and a midwife, or doula and the OB in there, because you can help take care of things that
it's an amazing partnership. Ask any midwife. They love it when patients have a doula because their job is easier.
Yeah.
They're like the people who don't have this professional support. I work in a midwifery clinic, and you hear the midwives on Mondays talking about how many phone calls they got over the weekend. And people are asking questions that they could have learned in a prenatal class. Or if they had that, like, for example, mucus plug came out, and that scares people. If you haven't seen that before and you see blood, when a mucus plug or something like that is a very healthy sign that you're on your way, right? Midwives love it. And they refer doulas to clients, but not everybody knows what doulas are, and it's really hard for people to catch on, and so there's a lot of still education and needed, which is one of my goals, to get out there and just on any kind of platform just talk about what we do. It's a great partnership, and we love it when clients have midwives.
It's like you can kind of share the work or what it takes to help the mom and the baby perform in the safest way. What would you say to anyone today that would be on the fence considering, do we go with a doula? Do we not go with a doula? What would be like the breaking thing or the advice that you would give about how having a doula as part of the team can be beneficial?
I think the most important, there's two really important things, okay? Like who you have at your birth. Three. Who you invite to your birth, be it a professional as a doula or a family member, okay? Who you pick as a care provider, and where you choose to birth. These are the three most important decisions you'll make once you become pregnant. It is completely an individual's choice if they're going with an OB or a midwife. Statistically, research has shown that going with a midwife versus an OB decreases your chances of an unnecessary C-section. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying do not go with an OB. That is not what I'm saying. OBs can manage. They are highly specialized and can manage low and high risk pregnancy. Okay, both. Complicated twins, pre-existing medical conditions. They can perform surgeries. Midwives, they manage low risk. And if you end up being high risk, then it's shared care with OB and a midwife. If your goal is to have a positive birth experience, and your goal is to have a vaginal birth, you have to take ownership and you have to figure these three things out. You got to build a team to improve your chances of having that vaginal birth. You have to ask questions. If you go with a midwife or an OB, you find out what is their C-section rate. How many C-sections has this care provider performed? Or what is this midwifery clinic C-section rate?
Okay, and why would that be important to figure out?
Because if your goal is not to end up in unnecessary surgery, then you're taking control of your birth experience. You're not just saying like, hey, this is a medical event. I'm leaving it up to the medical professionals. Because if that's what we do as women, we are not going to experience birth the way that we are meant to experience. For us, the babies, and our families. So there are things that you can take control of. There are many things that are out of control in birth.
Right.
But what about the things you can control? Can you look up the hospital stats on C-sections? Can you look up your doctor's stats? They all have in every single hospital and doctor and care provider has an individual stat.
Oh my gosh, these are things I would never have thought to do.
Meet care providers. Ask them questions. If you see red flags, sorry, you're not the care provider for me.
Well, I didn't know we had options. I thought, your doctor but when your doctor is done caring for you, then they refer you to the OB, and that's your OB. Like that's literally how it was. Like,
no.
She's like,
your GP will. There are only one or two GPs I can think of that will refer you to a midwife and an OB. So the moment that your family doctor refers you to one care provider and doesn't tell you another one exists, has done a disservice to you.
Yeah, I'll say no.
You know why? Because you weren't given options. You could have there's lots of people who want a certain care provider. They do not want a midwife. They want an OB. But the problem is the option was not given to these people.
Yeah.
doing registrations in a midwifery clinic, do you know how many phone calls I get? Please take me in. I had no idea I could see a midwife. My friend just told me, oh, when are you due? I am due in June. Oh my goodness, we are booked till September.
Mm.
It is too late for this person and you want to take them in,
Mm-hmm.
but there's space.
Right. I think you're helping provide a lot of helpful information, and one of the biggest things I'm hearing so far is we are in charge of our own advocating. And yes, having a doula can be helpful, midwife, OB, all those decisions we have to make. But at the end of the day, the person that is giving birth has to understand that you do get to make some of these choices. Some, like you said, are out of our control. You know, like you grow up and you're taught to never challenge authority, and doctors are kind of fit in that because doctors and nurses are meant to save your life. So anyone that's meant to save my life, I would never want to question them. And so I know for me, that's always been difficult. Is anytime I'm at a doctor's office or what, I will not ask the extra I will go with what they say and trust it. And most cases, that's fine. But either way, I think whether I still go that en route or not, it's like I have to also start to feel like I have a say in this. I get to ask for more options. I get to do that part as well. And I think that's really important for many of us to hear today, whether this is, conversation right now, we're talking about childbirth, but for any medical issues that we're facing, this is really good advice about, okay, like we have to be in charge. We have to be okay with being in charge.
Yeah, and getting a second opinion on any health condition, right? And I think it comes from the way that birth is viewed. So, as young women, as children, as teenagers, where do we see horrible scenarios of labor and birth?
Hollywood.
Hollywood.
Like every movie, she's legs wide apart, screaming, and also has a really shitty connection with the partner in the room, right? Screaming at the partner as well, like, you did this to me or whatever it is. And
Exactly.
A doctor that's aloof, not really paying attention to anything. Every time I see a baby being born, and it wasn't until after having my kids, I learned that that's not even the normal way to give birth. We're taught that, and that's how I gave birth, but it's actually, it made sense why when I was in active labor before I had both kids, my back, I had so much pressure, but I wanted to be on my fours. So I was leaning on the bed, and makes so much sense. You are the one that told me that is the way that naturally many of us are meant to have babies, not on our back.
What we see on TV is a woman on her back with a doctor in between her legs.
Yeah.
And screaming and punching the partner.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like brainwashing, right? So we grow up as women and guys are seeing this scenario and they're just like freaked out and not knowing that this experience can be in a different way. So this brainwashing, watching these scenarios over and over replay, builds a lot of fear in our psyche, in our bodies. There's a quote that I love from this hypnobirthing teacher. If you change the way you look at birth, the way you birth changes. Growing up and watching these scenarios made us think of birth in a certain way. And I can honestly tell you, of supporting over 60 families in 6 years, I have not seen a birth go down like that.
Mm-hmm.
Whoever's writing these stories don't understand that little girls or teenagers, young women watching this, that's how they're seeing birth.
Mm-hmm.
You do not have to be on your back to birth your baby. Your baby doesn't want you on your back to birth your baby. But our professionals, unfortunately, are trained to be in between your legs when you really should be on all fours.
Yeah. That's like insane that we know this, but yet we just keep going this weird Western medicine that's built, like you said, eons ago, and we keep following these graphs and these things, and meanwhile it's not helping us as we're learning. And kudos to those that are educating themselves and are not falling in the trap like me and like many of us have, which is, this is what we think we're supposed to do, and that's what you're supposed to do, or not even talk about it afterwards, because like that's a pretty, as blessed and all that we are, it's also a traumatic experience too. especially if it goes horrifically and yet you're just, you know, it happens to many, now move on with your life, right? And so would you say that this would be a good time to just chat a little bit about the postpartum period, or is there anything more that you want to add in terms of the birthing process? Like anything more you want to add about the vaginal birth?
I'll just finish off that part by just saying that we have a real problem with our C-section rate. And I just urge people, like, please look into things, look at options, and let's get these rates down. You know, BC C-section rate is 35%. BC is the leader in C-section rates in Canada, with Ontario at 29%. So that's 35%. And perfectly healthy women and babies are ending up in major surgeries, and something's got to be done.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, the benefit to the baby, when you talk about the baby's long term, forget about the recovery, where you know, someone goes through a C-section that could have been prevented.
Mm-hmm.
And you are in so much pain that you can't move. The bonding with the baby, you can't even pick up the baby.
Yeah.
The milk supply goes lower. Then you're ending up bottle feeding. And all of this, forget about all that. The benefits to the baby when it comes to long-term health is what we have to look at. There is great benefit from babies being born vaginally because the flora the mom has, the babies are getting that on their body while they're being delivered vaginally.
Right.
This develops the baby's immunity for life. You just gave your baby some strong guards, like in their tummy, their digestive system, helping them for the rest of their life. In Europe, they're already, with C-section babies, they're already taking the mother's flora and putting it on the baby's body. We're very behind.
Yeah.
Let's start doing that here if it has to be a C-section. But going from 21% in 2000 to 35% of what it is, it's too much.
Okay, so why is it that high?
Because people are being induced when they don't need to be.
And they're being induced when they don't need to be because it's what you said earlier, the medical system's a revolving door. We need you in and out. Like that would be the main reason why?
Because of parameters that we're putting on people. That if you go to 41 weeks, something's wrong.
Yeah.
If you go to, and don't get me wrong, you want to start to make decisions if you're creeping up to the 42-week mark, right? But they give you a window of 37 to 42 for a reason. But they start inducing people 41 plus 3 or 4 because it takes a couple of days to get baby out if it's induction sometimes. I think the biggest thing is getting induced when that people are going over their date. There's a whole conversation around that too, about benefit and risks and actual numbers. But it's about getting to the hospital too early, not having the right care provider. There's too many interventions, interferences. And I would say mainly inducing people when we don't need to.
And how many of us, because if the stats are so high, that means there's many of us that would be in that position and just would not know to argue that, or why, again, going back to the doctor is the healthcare professional is the expert. So we give them so much of that power because we want everything to go well, obviously. At the same time, I'm learning that there's a lot that we can do to prevent it from getting there. And when it does get there, it may not necessarily be the route that you have to go. So that's a big fight, though, to have. Like, how do you argue in that moment and say no? Because now you feel guilty and you think you're doing something wrong, though.
You just nailed it right there. Okay, so women are made to feel like they're doing something wrong and the baby's not even born yet.
Yeah, because like, what if something goes worse and now I could have just had a C-section and had my baby, but I put myself and the baby at more risk by saying no.
But how would you ever know?
Yeah.
And how without asking the proper information, the proper stats, the benefit and risk, the alternatives? There's an acronym that we teach people, BRAIN. Have a conversation by going down the BRAIN acronym. What's the benefit of this? What's the risk of it? And give me numbers. Don't tell me that the risk of stillbirth doubles. I want to know what the numbers are. So benefits, risks, alternatives. Tell me what else I can do. Intuition and what happens if I don't do anything right now. Get this information from your care provider in order to go home and make an empowered decision. But if someone just is calling you at 40 weeks and then booking your induction just in case you go over, that doesn't do good things for your hormones.
It's like the same, the running joke when you're at your due date, that's the other thing, due dates, right? And so you're at your due date and everyone in your community, your mom, your dad, your sister, your best friend, everyone down the street keeps calling you. So no baby yet, no baby yet, no baby yet. Like that's a lot of pressure because it's like, what am I supposed to be doing something to make this baby come out? I don't know what to do. To me, it sounds so similar exactly to the other piece of, well, I guess like I'm the problem, so let's rush it, right? Let's break the water, let's get it going.
Exactly. From the very first prenatal visit, I talk about due date and I don't stop talking about it. I talk about it every single prenatal visit because I won't go into it now, but I teach people how the due date is calculated. And it's based on us believing that every woman's menstrual cycle is 28 days long. Mine isn't. Mm-hmm. Due dates can be off. That's why they give you such a big window. One tip on that, I tell people, don't tell anybody your due date. Your due date is the date your baby is not going to come. Statistically, the baby comes 10 days, for your first baby comes 10 days after your due date, right? A due date that very name makes you feel like if you don't give birth that day, you're something's wrong with you.
Well, that's what I mean. Like everyone calling you and you're like, geez, like leave me alone. It's a pressure. And again, now that you're creating the stress hormones, all these other things that could be delaying it or causing whatever. And we're not thinking of that, right?
Exactly. So if you told someone I'm expecting middle of August or end of August, instead of saying August 16th, August 28th.
Yeah.
You're just saying, yeah, it comes early September, late August. I have no idea.
Right.
What you just did for yourself right there is protected your hormones.
Yeah. Yeah, not having these expectations yourself. Because like you said, we brainwash, like just like the movies, we do it to ourselves and also planning our life, because that's what this world is all about, is efficiency and being productive and getting all the things done. So now my due date is August 30th. Therefore, I work backwards from there and tell my workplace and all the other things that I have to do, get the baby room and whatever it is ready. And so we set ourselves up because we think that's the day. And then when it comes early or it comes late, we're like, right? Like, again, we're calling it early or late, but maybe that is the due date.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's exactly what it is. Because then you'll say, oh, I was late 10 days. The language is so important.
So important.
When really that's probably was your actual due date.
Right. Yeah. This baby came so early. There's lots that's resonating with me. And again, going back to getting your voice back. And that's what this platform's all about. So I think you're in the same wavelength in the world of having babies about, okay, where's your voice? And as a doula, you can help strengthen that voice. And I think that's so helpful for many people, especially people that don't have a community, don't have a choice of moms and siblings and friends to choose from to be in that room with you. I think, okay, you don't have to do it alone. If I could do it again, you'd be there. And I'd make you work hard.
Yeah, with your fast and quick births, I'll probably sleep right through it. I'm coming.
Yeah. Don't bother. Now I'm going to guilt trip you.
You're so efficient.
Okay, so can we talk about postpartum?
Yeah.
I saw this on your Instagram site. You had a little post on there about the 4th trimester. That's postpartum, right?
Yes.
Okay, Can we talk about what are the things, maybe again, there's more myths you can help bust here. What are the things to consider that could be crucial for the first 40 days after birth? Like, for example, hold on a sec. There's like a lot of the Asian cultures have that ourselves about 40 days after birth. There's like this whole ritual that happens in so many of our communities and cultures in the Eastern world about the things we should and shouldn't be doing, and even the energy bringing into the room. Like for some, it's not even having any visitors and whatnot because you're really trying to form this bond and all sorts of things. So it's so interesting what the Eastern world was already doing in so many ways, and then the Western world, modern world has said no, and look at it where we're kind of going back to now, where we're at this place where like, maybe we should look at what happens afterwards. So there is a crucial period, right, to consider. And what are the things we should be thinking about in the fourth trimester that maybe we don't actually think about?
Yeah, they coined the term the fourth trimester because the first 3 months of being postpartum is so important.
Mm-hmm.
That, first, second, third, they've labeled it fourth trimester, right? We really have to take a look at this important part of the period for the family. The adjustment of the baby from being inside a womb to like being to the outside world. There's a lot of changes the babies go through, right? The postpartum, like the emotions, the body of the person, and then the family as a unit. You were first just 2 of you, and now there's 3 of you. And then when there's more babies, you know how that is. I think so in our culture, like we also had this thing in India where when you give birth, you're smiling because you know I love India, right? Yeah.
No, I'm smiling because I know what you're going to say.
Okay.
Yeah.
So the tradition was that when you give birth, you go back to your mom's house for 40 days, right? And why is that? Because we feel comfortable knowing we can tell our mom to take care of us, or mom's going to just do it. It's very different with a mother-in-law, right? Like, it's end of the day, it's still not your actual mom, right? The idea was that this person has given birth, they need to be taken care of. That means that rest is number one. They're absolutely not cleaning, not lifting, not doing anything that is not supporting their recovery. The foods are the utmost important. We're talking about warm foods versus cold foods. The only thing that matters in that period, in these traditional times, was the connection with the mom and the baby to establish the milk supply.
Right.
And the bonding, that secure attachment that we keep coming back to. Now, what is our culture guilty of when a baby is born? We are guilty of 10 of us showing up and grabbing the baby from the mom and passing it around to every uncle and auntie. The problem with that is when the baby is learning how to feed and the mom has never fed before, this is a very crucial time. The further the baby is away from the mom, is being passed around with guests, the less chances of establishing that milk supply and that bond that the baby needs so badly. The baby gets confused, and unless there's some severe postpartum depression going on, the mom doesn't like it. You hear lots of moms that say, yes, people came to help me, but they just took my baby away. I didn't want to be away from my baby. Because people want to help, but they don't know how. And they think that holding the baby for you is helpful, which in many cases it is. You need a shower, you need a mental break. Of course it's helpful. But someone else other than mom and dad or grandma that's holding the baby for way too long causes a lot of confusion.
Yeah.
In the early stages, right? And it causes, because for women, imagine your husband's family took the baby. Oh, baby is so cute. And you're the one saying, you feel bad saying, hey, give me my baby back.
Oh, yeah. Can't say that. I mean, you should,
right?
But yeah, no, for sure. There's all the controversy that comes with that.
Oh, yeah, Kieran didn't let us hold the baby. She's so weird after giving birth. And, not realizing that to keep the family unit together in the first 40 days is so important.
Also, I think, bear with me for a second to not laugh at this, but that primal instinct too, like if you think of other species out in the woods, so animal has a baby, the mother is awake for 72 hours straight protecting because they're at a very vulnerable state of being eaten by the other predators out there. So there's this really big maternal instinct to protect. And I don't think as humans we're any different with that same, anyone that's had a baby would say, yeah, you can't, the first few days you don't sleep, even though you want to desperately, you can't, because you're like, holy crap, this baby's here and all my hormones and feelings and 10 guests that are out there.
Yeah.
But there is this instinct, I remember this protection instinct as well, not to say that I knew how to do it or what, or if I was good at communicating it, but it's in you. It's like this thing of, yeah, give me my baby back, right? Like I need, I think you have a really valuable point in, the way we used to do things or traditions that we've had. I think it's okay to grieve some of those things as well, whether we're from the Western world, the Eastern world, or both worlds. I think we're just learning a lot, where we're at today in comparison to however many years ago. And I think it's okay to instill some of these new boundaries and what, especially those of us that come from communities where that's just not common for us to say, like visiting hours are at this time, or give us the space we need, or I want everyone here, please come here, whatever it is. But I think for the parents that just gave birth, I think it's very important and okay for you to say and express what you need from the family members, and family members can learn how to respect that as well.
And that's a really important point that you said about new parents asking for help, because people want to help, they don't know how.
Yeah.
So tell them, like, hey, if they're offering and you're like, well, you know what? If you're passing by the grocery store, can you pick up a few items? When they get to your house, if you really want to help, can you fold baby's laundry? Like, I don't think I've ever gone to a postpartum mom's house where I'm not chatting with her and folding her baby's laundry.
Oh man, that's so appreciated.
And I wash their dishes before I leave. I don't care how much they tell me to stop, because I know that's what they need and that's what they want.
Yeah.
Right? But it's so hard for us to ask our friends and family for that.
Totally. Yeah.
There are some people, a lot of my clients, there's a meal train service you can do. So you can sign up your friends. You make one friend in charge of it, and you have that friend having other friends sign up on which days they're dropping off a meal at your front door and then leaving.
Yeah, that's like, can I do that just in general? When Carrie goes out of town? Yeah. Can you please feed the kids and I while Carrie's away?
I never thought of it other than postpartum.
Well, now you know what I want for my birthday.
Yes. It's just
a meal train. Yeah. I think that's a great idea. I think that's really cool to ask for what we need when we're building these communities, versus the surface level of what we do, which is bring over a really cute gift for the kid and visit for an hour and then you leave. And that's great and thoughtful too. And sometimes that's all you can do and that's enough. But those really close-knit people that we've been keeping in check the whole time, they knew what was happening during the delivery. Those are the ones that I think, I think I would be more than okay if I got asked to come over and do you mind just folding my laundry today? Like, thank you for telling me what to do.
In a heartbeat.
Yeah,
I will tell you. Like,
you have no problem.
Karen, can you clean my bathroom?
Yeah. Please, yeah.
Yeah. Can you walk? You know what I did for a family once? You know what was really stressing them out? That their dog had not walked yet.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
So guess what I did? I walked their dog.
Oh, perfect. Expert. You're an expert. You know how to walk dogs really well, too, with Lexi over there. I think you're right. Like, that's huge. Or, you have a dog or you have another child even. Like, this. It's like that adjustment of, like you said, our world went from maybe 2 to 3 or 2 to whatever, like, one more than we had before. And we're all adjusting. And there are many ways that we can offer help and many ways we can ask. Sometimes we just don't know how to do either. Like you said, we don't know how to ask for it and we don't know how to offer it. So then
I know it's much easier said than done. You just have to ask the right people, like me asking you, and
right. That's exactly it. Saying, hey, can you come over and do my laundry? Great. Now, next time I'm in town, that's what's going to happen.
I know, but a more serious note, please ask for help. Don't be shy, and very important.
So, okay. So any I kind of want to ask a little bit about partners, what partners' roles can be. Should we be focusing on something else during postpartum that you would like to bring about or mention?
Yeah, what we usually say is just like in labor, the partner and if there's a doula there, their roles are to protect the space. The partner's role in the postpartum period is so important. To protect the space. So we usually say it's mom's full-time job to feed the baby, unless for some reason there's bottle feeding involved. Of course, the dad can feed, right, with the bottle. But if if your goal is to breastfeed, the partners actually have a big role in if that's going to be successful or not. Because what happens is the partner will look at the person who gave birth and just feel so bad for them and just be like, babe, just let me give the baby a bottle. You get one night of sleep. They think they're helping. But what's happening is there's a reason the baby's up all night. Okay. Milk gets produced mostly at night. So where people make a little bit of an error, not knowing, give the baby a bottle. I really want to breastfeed, but I need a night of sleep. When really we should be feeding all night for the first few weeks and months and then sleeping during the day. So when partners think they're helping sleep and I'll give the baby a bottle, it's not helping. It's more like, hey, helping is this. No, my parents are not going to come today because you need to sleep. No, our friends are not going to come over. Protecting the space, meaning someone's holding the baby, but they know the baby's cues for hunger and they're getting the baby back to their partner before that baby is wailing and crying and now you can't latch. Mom focuses on feeding the baby and the partner focuses on feeding the mom. That's how the family unit works. You feed the mom, make sure she's hydrated, has snacks beside her all day long, and then the mom focuses on the baby. And it's removing any family distractions because who cares if they look like the bad guy, right?
Right. Yeah. Well, yeah, exactly. Yeah. Not the mom said she didn't want you here today. So can you leave? Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. I think that's great. And also helps if I was in the partner role too, helps me be a little more clear about what I can do because the help that, you want to give is what only the mother can do. Often, which is the feeding and whatnot. So then, like you said, you feel guilty and you're like, let's get you some sleep. So I think that's great. Like, okay, no, I can help in these other ways that can take the pressure off for the mom who is trying to produce the milk and get the rest and all that. Who's feeding the partner though? Like what are some things for partners and how can they reach out for support and help? Because it does become the mom show, as in many ways it should. You just gave birth and however, partners are doing a big thing. They have a massive role, and sometimes they can, kind of like the middle child, fly under the radar a little bit and maybe not get the validation as well that they need because they're doing a lot. They're trying to do the best they can and they don't really know what to do. So is there some advice or what that we can give to support the partner as well?
Yeah, it'd be the same. It'd be asking for help, like asking and not be ashamed. It takes a village to raise babies and children. It doesn't matter how old your children get, you still ask for help. We're not meant to do this alone. Just like you said, it's animal instinct that we have to protect our babies and our family. And the father has instincts in a different way.
Right.
One tip I give people is make a lot of meals when you're waiting for the due date, right? Quote unquote due date. So I get people busy making meals together that they can freeze them.
Right.
In the first weeks, they don't have to think about food. That's one way. And then asking your mom, like, hey, can you drop food off? Like if it's hard for your wife or girlfriend to ask. We really have to normalize asking.
Right? How do we do that? Please. How do we normalize that?
By saying 2 words, help me.
Honestly, seriously, we all need to, maybe not everyone, maybe there's some people that are really good at it. But for the most part, many of us are in that boat where we just struggle. And I think part of it is like not to blame ourselves that we suck at it is, again, we live in a society that's set us up to watch movies, talk, think, read, all this stuff about you can do it on your own. You can do it. You can do it. And a lot of generations in the Western culture before us did do it on their own. Not saying they did it successfully or not, but the mom, and if there was a mom and a dad and the kids, they were in their household and they figured it out. I think a lot of times have changed, in particular work. There was a time where one partner got to work and the other one maybe didn't need to. Where today, it doesn't matter if you want to or you don't. You kind of everyone, even the kids are working. Everyone's making money to pay the bills. And so things sort of, shift in a different way. And I think we forget or lose sight of how important it is to ask for help. I don't have the answers. I'm in that boat too, every day, struggling, trying to figure out how to ask for more.
Because I'm passionate about the postpartum period as well, I do a lot of activities with my clients, to get them talking about the postpartum period. Because what happens is you get pregnant and you're just so focused on prenatal, like the information is overwhelming. You only have time to think about pregnancy, birth. But I add a little things in about postpartum period, and I get them to do exercises like, hey, who's going to be in charge of this? Who's going to be in charge of food? Who's going to be in charge of setting boundaries with family members?
Yeah.
It's very hard to talk about this when baby is here.
Yeah.
And one book I really, really recommend to read during pregnancy is called The Fourth Trimester by Kimberly Ann Johnson. I would read it while pregnant instead of waiting until postpartum.
Excellent. Okay, so we covered a bit of pregnancy. We covered some strategies on how to advocate and ask for another opinion. We talked a bit about your role, including midwife. We also talked about a little bit about postpartum and partners. What else do we want to cover?
Just remembering that birth is not a medical event, and that your body, it sounds cliche, but your body is designed to do it. And it doesn't have to be a scary, traumatic event at all. And just remembering that just because birth is in the hospital, and when you think of hospital, you think of when you get hurt, you're sick, you go to the hospital. But birth doesn't fall into that category. It's not a medical event. We have made it medical. And unfortunately, the stats say it all. There's not good outcomes on the way these babies are being born and how women are experiencing birth. With that said, there is lots you can do to get your power back and to have control of this birth process. And it starts from the very beginning when you're pregnant. Interview care providers, look at the stats, start with power. Remember that care providers work for you. You don't work for them. It's not the other way around. As hard as it is, you will want to please people in white coats and of higher authority. You only get to have your first baby once. You only get to have your second and third baby once. You want to protect at all costs that experience for you, yourself, your family, and your baby.
Well said. Okay, so at this point, I'm going to ask you, is there anything that you wish I had asked today, or something you want to go back and clarify or add to our conversation?
No, I think you asked amazing questions, and as usual, made this you made it really comfortable, and no, I feel great about the conversation, and
I do
too.
We
covered everything. Yeah.
We started with tears, which blow my mind still, and I think I have to go back and think a little bit more about that. And I think a big part of it was, when I'm saying going back, think about it, is just the credit that's due, the credit that's taken with the birthing process, and the impact that it will carry all the way through the lifespan, and particularly will show up again if you are a woman that will be going through some kind of menopause. Like, there's a connection to both there. So I think it was very fitting to have you on to kind of go look back a little bit before moving forward, and I appreciated that. What about a call to action? If there was one thing that our listeners could take away, you gave a lot of good feedback today. If they could take one thing and do that one thing, what would it be?
I think I would bring it back to that favorite quote of mine. If you change the way you view birth, the way you birth will change. Build a team. If you know you're, wanting to start your family a year from now or 2 years from now, start the research before and build a good team, and you can 100% have an amazing birth experience and rock it.
I appreciate hearing that from you. I want to thank you for coming on today and giving me the time that you continue to give. I think this conversation was needed. I also want to invite others listening to that. These are door openers. So if there's something Meena and I talked about today, you want to know more about, you want to contribute to, you want to add on to, you know where to find us, reach out. We love getting feedback. We appreciate it. Our hope is that folks will leave with, well, Meena, what's your hope today? What we hope that folks are going to leave with today?
It's something that I wish for all my clients, is that they get excited to give birth.
Mm.
And the first visit, I always say that to them. I go, my goal is to have you get excited to birth your baby. And I revisit that at the last visit. And I can honestly tell you that they are excited to give birth.
Yeah. Yeah, that's amazing.
Get excited. You can definitely be excited to give birth.
Aw. Well, and if folks are interested in receiving services from you, where can they find you?
My business is just named after me. It's Meena's Doula Services. So meenasdoulaservices.com, and then Meena's Doula Services on Instagram. And you can reach me there. A lot of people do reach out through Instagram, so I hope to be more active on it.
Excellent. Okay. And we'll have that up. We'll have your socials up. We'll have the book you recommended up as well. And the Cochrane site that you had mentioned earlier, we'll put all that up.
Thank you. Thank you so much. I loved our conversation. Thanks for listening and giving me the space here.